building connections and building a web of people that you can talk to across industries, across lines. I appreciate that. Same with my coach. My coach we have a tribe. They're all the members that he coaches. Well, we have a tribe call once a week. So whoever can get on there, they really encourage it.
When I don't exercise enough, but when I do, right, I don't just do, the 50 reps. I do 51. Like I do just a little bit more than I was expecting to do it, right? Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Garage Grit Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Herlock, also co-owner of AA Shop Marketing, a digital marketing company for auto repair shops. And I'm glad that you are listening to this episode. I'm glad that you listen to a lot of our episodes, but I've known Jarrod for a while. He was actually on our first ever episode in that first panel when we had the first conversation about whether or not to pass credit card fees on to customers. And you know what? Before we even introduce you, I'm just kind of curious. Did you ever make any changes based on that?
No, I never passed them on to the customer. I didn't feel it was the right thing to do. I just tried to incorporate more into my labor rates that way because I just didn't want the feed or the kickback from the customer, potentially losing a customer over not communicating that. I just didn't want to deal with that.
Well, that's a very valid point, right? And I also think that particular topic is one that isn't just sensitive, but it's also very different from area to area. If you go, 40 minutes, 30 minutes south of you're in Philadelphia, and I bet you that doesn't cause a flinch for most tire shops, right?
Yeah.
Right. But you're in a very rural environment in Harleysville, Pennsylvania and Souderton, Pennsylvania. And so, Jarrod, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've got there at your shops?
Yep. So I've been in this since I was in fourth grade. My parents opened our first shop in 1984. And both my dad was a technician. My mom was there doing books and things like that. So I grew up there, getting underfoot and learning to sweep floors, clean up. I was gifted with the ability to work with my hands, so I took to it very well, and I love it. I love what I do. I just have a passion for cars. When I have downtime, what am I doing? I'm working on a car. I mean, it's what I do. I don't know why, but it's what I do. My wife's like, "Man, you're always working on something." I am always working on something, but I love it. I do. I got to the pinnacle. I feel like I was able to fix a lot. Again, not the best, couldn't fix everything, but I fixed a lot of cars that people couldn't. And I was proud of that. Went to a lot of training classes, ended up purchasing the original business from my parents in 2012. So my wife and I took that over. I hired a service advisor right away. I didn't want to be running the front counter. I was the lead tech. And then we had the opportunity to purchase a second location in 2022. So April 22, we opened our doors at our second location at a shop 4 miles from Souderton in Harleysville, which is where I live.
But I want to jump in and back up on your story because I want to ask a question about the hiring of the service advisor.
Yes.
Were you the service advisor when your parents owned the shop? Did they not have a service advisor?
So my dad really did that role. I could do it as well. My parents at that point once I was involved in the business, they had a beach house down at the Outer Banks. They would go down once every 4 to 6 weeks for 5 days to 2 weeks, and I would run the shop. So we had the people there, and I was the service advisor at that point. And yes, I could do it, but working on cars is what my passion was, not being in the front counter. So
okay, all right, okay, all right. So, well, I only asked that because I feel it when I hear a lot of these stories from so many shop owners, it's my understanding that service advisors have been more of the awareness of how badly we need to improve the customer experience. It's still an issue that lags, right? There's still a lot of shops that don't even have actually a front desk, or if they do, it's massively understaffed. So I found that interesting that you were aware that needed to be done right away, and it was partially because your dad was doing a lot of that role. And so was it a scenario where his back wasn't the same and he didn't want to be, or was he also in the shop and out front? He was just juggling.
It was the progression. When I got involved in the business, really, so I would say ninth grade, when I was in ninth grade, I was coming in after schools, working summers. I worked a lot. When I came out of high school, I was a great technician. So it was myself and another guy, and I think we had a part-time helper at that time. So we had a small shop. It really at that point was a 2-bay shop, which we grew. We had a half a bay that we went up and out, made a third bay, which was a alignment bay. So it was a small shop. So there really wasn't room. So it was perfect. It was perfect for my dad to do that. He went into that role, and that's kind of how it worked. So
Okay. All right. All right. Well, good. Uh, that first hire, how'd it go?
service advisor hire was well.
Yeah.
It was good. He did well. That was a hard transition too, because again, you talked about a little bit south here in Philly. We're a small community, and it's a Mennonite community, so it's a tight knit, and people are used to dealing with the owner. So I knew that was a transition I was going to have to work with. People trusted me. They trusted my dad. Well, here's a new person at the front. Who is this guy? So I would have to, I spent a lot of time there. Hey, I would introduce him. His name was Josh. And, this is our service advisor. They would have, hey, I want to talk to Jarrod. And they'd come interrupt me in the shop. And I'd say, okay, great. Well, he'll help you with that. Now that took me a while to transition that back to when you call, ask for him, which he was answering the phone. But no,
Right.
it went well. We ended up parting ways just because of some other things, but he did well for us, and it was good learning for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. How long was he with you?
Let me think. Several years. Then he quit and went to work elsewhere, and he came back for a little while, and it didn't work out. I've learned that when somebody leaves, it's almost better not to bring them back, and that was the case. I want to say 3 years. I'm sorry, Brad. I don't remember exactly, but I think
That's fine.
3 years.
Okay. All right. That's still a good amount of time. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you invest in a person and you want them to kind of stick around and create value for the business. And you and I have talked about that, about shops not recognizing that this is a business, right? And so it's not just a trade. You're running a shop; it is a business, and the work you're doing is the trade. But I really enjoy the fact that you grew up around the shop. I like how you described it as underfoot. A lot of people can relate to that. I find there's a lot of shop owners that also they come from outside and they come in, but there's still plenty of shop owners who grew up around it, multi-generational. I love that stuff. I love those stories. And I'm kind of jealous, because jealous is probably the wrong word, but I like my son. Like, all right, so we called a pizza shop the other day to order some pizza, and on the announcement before they picked up the phone, they let them know that we were hiring. And as soon as we walked in the door to pick up our pizza, his first question is, "Where's the application?" Now he's 10, so he's about 5 years allowed from being allowed to even work there, right? So, but he would love to be in an environment where he's actually working. Now, he's not. He has not shown mechanical gifts or just I guess maybe like me, just not necessarily gifted with the hands in that regard. So I kind of wish that there was something that he could be doing, and because I think
Yeah.
I think it's really good for the development of a child to be working. That sounds weird. That sounds like I'm not promoting child labor,
I
but
agree.
just
And that is what has instilled the work ethic in me. And
yeah.
I have an older brother, I have a younger sister. We all had to go, and all three of us have a good work ethic. Uh, I have 3 children, and I wanted to kind of continue my story with, we purchased our second location, and here we are 3.5 years or so, 3.5 years ish in. And again, been very challenging, very hard. We're making progress, and I'm happy with where we're at. But my oldest 20-year-old son now, he works for us. He's a service advisor. Again, he has no mechanical ability. It's funny how he and my younger son and me and my brother are similar. My brother, no mechanical ability. My oldest son, no mechanical ability. My younger son, amazing. So, so he works for us as a service advisor, and we're training him, and it's neat to see. My younger son, he graduated this past year, and he is a technician at my original location. And he loves that because that was Pop's shop. So he had a really special bond with my dad. Both my parents have since passed, which is a bummer. I wish they were still around, but especially to see the boys, they would just be so proud to see him working. But my younger son, as proud as I am, he every week in and out, he's teeters on being one of my most productive technicians. Now, granted, he has a ton to learn, and he didn't, even though he grew up in it, he was not at the shop. He just has a knack. He is gifted. So I'm proud of him, but I look at technicians in the field and I'm like, here's an 18-year-old who is crushing you. You've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years. He just has a knack. He picks up um, his processes. He thinks through how he's going to do things efficiently and effectively to get it done quicker. He's not rushing it. He's not cutting corners, but he is efficient. So neat to see that as well. So I'm very proud of my boys. And my younger son and I are very similar. So I see a lot of butting of heads. So it's nice. He's at the one shop. I'm usually at my other shop. So we're not right on top of each other all the time, but it's neat to have your kids in there. But again, my daughter, she comes in and we have her shredding papers and, putting stuff away, just little stuff, just to get her. And I'm like, hey, we're Michalaks. This is what Michalaks do. We do hard things. I don't want them to. I think it's important for all of us to have a good work ethic. Doesn't mean we can't be productive and own a business and eventually get to the point where we don't need to be in the day to day. I think that's a great goal to have. But, I want them to be able to work. I want them to be able to do every aspect of that business. So if they need to, they can show them how to do it. I don't want them just to be, oh, I'm the owner of a business, I don't do that. I think it's important to be connected with your people as well. So,
Yeah. Well, there's so much in the repair space that's multifamily or multi-generational. And I don't know, I think it's a brilliant and amazing thing to have your children in and around the shop. We're not asking them to operate the lifts or operate the machinery or the tool, right? But just to be around it, just to be, just to see what it's about. Uh, and you know what? I, I'm not actually a gambling person, but that would be one thing that would tell you almost like a sure bet to compare the work ethic of somebody who's been around it versus not around it. And with the 10-year-old son, I mean, many years ago, I was thinking about what does it mean to do better for, like, it seems like part of the American spirit is I want to give my children more than I had. And yet we were given so much in the Generation X that you and I are in. Like, how do we actually one up that? And I don't think it's always money. I think it's often, how do I improve the work ethic? How do I improve the personality, the relationship with God, with whatever, like all of those things. It's not just the balance in the checkbook. Well, a checkbook, by the way, for those who are Z's and millennials, are a book of paper that actually refer to how much money you have in your bank account. But so anyway, so yeah, I totally dated myself, right? Because nobody, yeah. Anyway, all right. So, but I think about that, and I think having a shop and having the children around, obviously not in any kind of risk or danger situations. I don't know how old your daughter is, though.
she's 11.
All right. So
She's not in the shop per se, but she's in the offices. And
right. But what if she wanted to be in the shop in 5 years?
I have no problem with that.
That's great. That's great. If that's what she wants, or if she wants us to, in 5 years, be your lead front desk person, that'd be also amazing.
I
right?
can see her doing that more. That's more her skill set and her personality for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And well, before we started recording, we talked a little bit about that, and we just touched on it again. But it's easier to teach. Sometimes it's easier to teach car than it is to teach people. So that's also an interesting gift that, you assess what gifts you have, and then you really kind of run with it. I was talking to a shop owner who he doesn't like people. He likes being the level A technician that he is. And, the suggestion is, all right, go hire a CEO. Right. And so, like, learn your, not your lane, but know assess what you've got. We're recording this in December. It's probably going to get published in early January of 2026. It's a good time to be talking about assess what you've got and build on those talents and delegate the rest. Right. And outsource the rest or delegate the rest. And it's, you decided, even though you are great. What's that?
That's all part of being a great leader. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses and hiring strengths that you don't have to make, if you want to be successful and I can't do this or I can't do that. You need to hire the people to do that to be successful at
Yep.
the
Yep.
next level. So
Yep.
very
Now, you took a slightly different path. You were a good technician, but you've decided that you did not want to be in the bays. You decided to go a different route. Talk to me about that journey a little bit.
so also part of when I took over my parents' shop. My parents, it was a mom and pop shop. What we had across the country for years. I knew that I wanted to be better than that. I wanted to run a business. So soon after I took over, I started researching coaching companies, and I hired a coach, and I learned a ton about how to run a business. And we talk, Brad, and I really feel that that's one of the biggest things that hurts our industry is the fact that there's I will never say that there's a bad shop. They're great. There's a lot of great shops. There's immensely intelligent people that know how to fix a lot of cars in my area. They're awesome, but I feel like they're lacking the understanding of how to operate a business. Hey, I got money in a checking account. I'm doing great. Well, are you really? What's your net profit on your gross profit? And what are you paying your tax? What's the percentage of that? What's your rent? What's this? Are you paying rent? I remember talking to a guy in town. He's like, yeah, I haven't paid myself in several years. I just take money at the end of the year when I have extra. I'm like, clearly you have no idea what you're doing. So that's sad. But what that does is it hurts the industry. It brings us down. And when you look at
that person doesn't realize it, but they're probably underpricing jobs because they're looking at what their current cost is as opposed to their actual cost.
right.
And from my understanding and for the viewers, I'm cheating a little bit. I grew up not far from where Jarrod is sitting. And so I know the area a little bit. And so with that background information, I would imagine most of your competitors are still in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
Most.
Souderton, it's only 4.5, 5 miles from where I'm at, but Souderton, the competition there's still a lot of the older owners. And there's some youngers coming in, but again, I think it's so important. I mean, I was a technician. I wasn't great in school. I'm great with my hands. I don't know business. So hiring a business coach, there's some great ones out there. There's some not so great ones. But hiring a coach to help you learn and understand the numbers is so important. And it really does make a difference of how successful you're going to be. And what does success come from? I chose that I wanted to grow my company. So for me to do that, I needed to hire people and put them in positions so that I could step away. Are they going to do it exactly like me? No, but that's okay. As long as I have processes and procedures, this is the Michalak's way. This is how we do it. This is how we want to take care of customers. As long as we get from point A to point B, if you go this way and I go that way, it's okay. As long as we're making sure we're caring for our customer and doing the right thing, we can do things a little bit different. But yeah, there's specifics we need to hit and we have to do. But I'm okay with that. And it's hard because I've grown, this was our small business that we did, but I want to be bigger. I want to grow. Having a second location has given me some opportunities that I never had before, as far as being able to take some time off. I did 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to go on a mission trip with my boys. My one son was just graduating, the other one was a little younger, and I was like, I may never have this opportunity again. And again, I had the opportunity because I'm a little larger. I have people here in place that can run the businesses for me, and I was able to go with both my boys. That was.
And also because I want to give a shout out to the last panel that we just recently published in November of 2026. I'm sorry, 2025. Boy, I got ahead of myself. Yeah. I'm already writing the correct date in the checkbook. So for next year. By the way, again, back to Z, the millennials, that was always an issue because you used to end up trying to have to rewrite checks because you wrote last year's date. Okay, back to this. You had the processes documented to allow your team that you've delegated, and that's what the panel was about in November of 2025. Was where to begin to make sure that you actually are documenting those processes correctly. And we had a nice conversation about that, and we went down a couple of rabbit holes, but for the most part, it was a really good conversation to kind of be aware of how to document those processes. And I imagine that was a big reason. It wasn't just that you owned a second location. You had put down and you had put people in place and you had them, here's the manual, so to speak, whether, however you have that manual, and that allowed you to give you that free time. So that's great. So
there's no way I would have a second location if I didn't have process and procedures. It would just be
okay. All right. So, all right. So you created those processes before you purchased the second location. You were aware from your coach that you were working with at the time. Yeah. You needed to put that together. You haven't been with the same coach the entire time. I believe you switched. Was the switch before or after the second location purchase?
It was after.
Okay.
So, my first coaching company, they were great. I love my coach, great man, really appreciate him. But I definitely feel like there were some things missing there when I was. So again, to go back, my first location was a 3-bay shop, and I purchased a 2-building, 21, 22-bay operation. Huge, huge difference, huge change going. I mean, even just how you do things. I mean, certain process procedures I was doing in a small shop just aren't going to work in a large shop. So when I was thinking about this, talking about it, I approached my coach, and he's like, "Oh, I got you. I'll take care of it." It's like, "Is there somebody in the organization that's done this, can do it?" And I think I should have been handed off to someone else. That didn't happen. And I kept questioning certain things. But again, I love my coach. I was dedicated. I'm like, well, this is what my coach says. This is what I'm going to do. And I did that. And it just got to the point where I finally stopped and was like, something's not right. I'm losing car count. Both shops. And I'm like, something changed. So I made a change within that company. And I changed to another great man. But again, I will not say anything bad about the men I had. They were wonderful people. They genuinely cared about me. I just think that they were just over their head a little bit. The second person was good, but I'd already made my decision. I need to move. And so now I'm with another coaching company, and I am thrilled. I've made so many changes, and things that I was questioning came to light. Like, yeah, that is important. You need to be doing X, Y, Z. You should be doing this. And I've made those changes, and I've seen a big change. So again, I would say that, yes, I was asking the right questions, but not getting the right feedback that I needed at that point. But
I think that's an interesting thing to consider. Not all coaching companies are equal, and there are shops in certain situations that aren't right for either of your two coaches because of their particular situation or personality or a bunch of different things. And I think it's reasonable to interview a bunch of different coaches and share your goals, be transparent with your goals, be transparent with as much as you can, and see if that transparency is reciprocated. And then from there, figure out, which one is most suitable for you. I think that's a reasonable thing to do, but I think it's a necessary step to take.
Yeah. And
talk to 2 or 3 coaches.
With you in business too, I'm sure I would say the coaching company is similar to employees. Okay, I had this employee, he got me from here to here, but that employee may not be the guy to get you from here to there. So you might need to switch. And again, like I said, I think my time with my first coaching company had come to an end. It probably came to an end sooner than I had left. But they
we're not mentioning names of the coaching companies on this one because of how you described everything, and I don't want to have any kind of ill will for anybody.
No,
but here's my question. So since we're not going to mention names, I'm going to ask you this next question.
Yeah.
Do you see a time when you might graduate from the current coaching company and need a different type of coaching company?
So that's a great question, and my wife is like, "Oh, when will we be done?" And so the current coaching
never.
Well.
Coaching, never. That's the key, right? I mean, like professional ball players have, like Tom Brady was meeting with somebody, like he could probably teach 1 million people, but he was meeting with somebody to actually work on that spiral, right? And work on whatever he needed to work on, because they were analyzing him specifically. And I think that's really the key with what you just said, right? About graduating, I don't know that you used the word phrase graduating, maybe you did, but the idea of, at this point in my journey, I need something different. Being aware and sensitive to that. So I'm sorry, I'm back to asking the question. Your wife's saying, "When will we be done?" And your response is,
"I'm in the mindset. I love my coaching. I get so much from it, and I always have. So I place a lot of weight on it. The difference with my current coaching company that they do is it is so well run and so well set up. Meaning, okay, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Then you get to the different level, and then age. Okay, now I'm getting to, let's say I'm getting a little bit older. I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to be retiring. What do I need to do to set that up? So yes, I'm setting things up now a little bit, but you go there. The other thing is, as you grow and you earn more money and you have more revenue, and it's like, okay, what do I do with my money? There's areas to talk there. They like a financial area. Talk about real estate. Do you want to start getting there's so many aspects of things to help if you want to go there. And I see it as just it's amazing. They also have opened up areas of coaching for service advisors. They have they've opened up for your technicians. So they are continually evolving their group. Now they've had them both for years, but they're growing and just making themselves better and better. And it's priceless. And it's for someone of myself that is not a book smart person. I'm very smart with what I do with my hands, but book smart's not my thing. So learning your P&L, learning that, how to go through that and look at your numbers from month to month. What's good? What's bad? Hey, there's something different here. Let's look into that. Being able to do that and understand it, know where you need to be percentage wise in your P&L. I had no idea. So these are things that now I do know, and it's helped guiding me to be more successful and to be here for the long haul. So
I've been in business for a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean, 2.5 decades. And I would always be approached with people were saying, I'm a business coach. Well, okay, what kind of business coach are you? Well, we work with all types. Okay. And I never came across any of them that were able to ask industry specific questions to the digital marketing space. And I felt like I already knew what they were trying to coach people on. And I'm not saying that they were fakes or whatnot, because there are plenty of people who didn't have that knowledge and needed that level of coaching. And I've often stated that, I mean, I don't want to put myself in the realm of like a professional athlete, but I'm a little bit further along than that general aspect of things. And so you need to have that level of coaching. And we do here at AA Shop Marketing. We have our own coach, right? We have that level or that coaching program that we are plugged into that that helps us refine and make sure that we're providing great service to our customers and great communication with our customers. And so it's nice to have that, but I didn't, until it was specific to what we were doing, it wasn't all that helpful. And so I think that's a powerful thing. And I can also see, like you mentioned about graduating, okay, what's next? Where's the next piece and finding that right fit. All right. So you knew that you wanted to have a business. Do you miss are you still occasionally in the shop fixing things? Do you miss it?
Getting less and less. And that's a good thing, because the reality is, for me to be the leader and lead my company, I have to be in my office. I have to be doing what I need to be doing here to do that.
Yeah.
So if I get pulled into the shop, that takes away from my time here to advance my company. So the other thing too is I have so much on my brain to try and diagnose a car. It's hard. Like I can do basic stuff, but if you ask me to diagnose a car, man, that's challenging because Jarrod this, Jarrod that, Jarrod this. And it's like constantly people, pulling from me. And I can't focus on what I need to.
I see what you're saying. It's not even a matter of the cars being ridiculously different than they were 10 years ago. It's also a matter of, or it's primarily a matter of the constant distractions and pulls every which way. I can see that. I can relate to that. So, okay. And so when my son is out playing football, I have to take a deep breath and make sure that I suppress the urge to go play because I miss it, right? I miss being out on the field, and whether it was football or baseball or soccer, doesn't matter, right? American football or international football, it doesn't matter. It was like I feel the pull to come back, but I know that my body can't handle it. It's done. It's over. Do you have that feeling?
So I would say yes. But what I try and do is coach my team. Hey, this is what I did. Try it this way. If I see them struggling with something, Try and
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The coaching makes me want to get back into it, right? And I know better, and that's what I'm asking is, but during the coaching, do you feel? I guess a lot of shop owners, what they do is they come in on Saturday when no one's there and they work on their own.
I was going to say I do. Like I said, I
Okay.
I was in here Saturday most of the day because I'm putting a plow on the Jeep. It's a little bit lifted. It's different, so I have to modify brackets and weld, and so I will be getting some other brackets I had made back shortly, and I'll have to
Okay.
put them up. And so yeah, I still get my fill.
Okay. All right.
My fill.
Fair enough. And just so that we talked about the front of the shop and the personalities attached to it, and I just want to quickly mention that we're also having another episode, another shop owners panel that's going to be recorded or has been recorded by the time you're listening to this in December of 2025, specifically tying the connection between how much you invest in your people at the front of the shop and how much you're investing in marketing, because if you're getting leads and they're just being mean, then it doesn't really matter. And so, so you mentioned about some of the kind of the fine tuning that you've gone through. Do you have a good front of the shop right now? Are you happy with them?
We do. So my original location, the gentleman who's running that, he's been with me over 5 years. He's celebrating his 5th year anniversary.
Nice.
Awesome dude. I mean, I love the guy. He's a younger guy. He's got married a couple years ago, but I mean, just to take another step back. So we hit a record month in October there, which was huge. So we celebrated, and I said, hey, I'd let them know early on in the month, if you guys hit this, we're going to celebrate. Got some really good steaks, had a nice steak lunch for the guys. And, I'm always looking at my month, and I just this last weekend, I was looking at my year to date numbers, and I was like, holy cats, we're going to hit a great year end. Again, another record potentially. So I went over there yesterday, and I had a great conversation with the guys. I looked at each one of them and thanked them for what they're doing and the progress and where we're at. And again, we talked about marketing, and we're up, our car count's up over 300 cars from last year, and just great stuff. But the gentleman out there, TJ, when I talk with him, we have our meetings. He's like, oh, I talked to so-and-so. He has the hard conversations with the technicians. When things come up, he'll go out and he'll have those hard conversations to get them back on track. And I commended him. I said, TJ, I barely go there. Maybe once every 2 weeks I'm over there. I'll stop by and just go over things with them. We'll text and things like that. But the shop runs. It runs, and it runs awesome. And that is because of the people I have. So here in Hardeeville, we struggled we've only been here 3.5 years, and just working through buying it. And then the last employee that was original is left a little bit ago. We let him go. So we're now have completely changed everybody over. But even in that, we've changed people. It's just hard finding the right fit to get your team that aligns with my values and how I want to treat people. But that front counter is a tough one, because that is the person who is the first interaction with your customer. How are they going to talk to them? How are they going to treat them? Are they going to greet them? I mean, I had several guys with one gentleman was a service advisor most of his career. Another one had customer service experience of 32 years. And I'm thinking, wow, these are going to be great hires. They'll fit in. I check references. Yeah. And they were horrible. I'd have people come in and their head would be down. They would, I don't say ignore, but they're ignoring customers. If somebody comes in, you got to greet them. Even if you're on the phone, you're doing something else. Hey, I'll be with you in just a minute, whatever that is. Smile.
Yeah.
You can't teach people skills. You either have it or you don't.
But they, according to their resumes, they had it. And so I'm going to have a potential hard conversation with you. Maybe it was them. Maybe they had stuff going on at the house, in their home life that was impacting it. But what could have you done differently to potentially make sure that the environment was grinning ear to ear, so that kind of spilled over into them? Right. I maybe nothing. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I'm just trying to I'm certain, knowing you've reflected on this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
so share that with us.
We have weekly meetings with our advisors, so we're going through every week, every Tuesday. My wife and I, we sit down and we ask them to bring things from the week, how your successes, your failures, your struggles. And then I have some things that I've seen and I talk to them about.
Okay.
And obviously numbers are that too, because again, I want to sell everything legitimate. We're not selling stuff that's not, but there's plenty of work that needs to be done on cars. And if you build that relationship with the customer, that they can trust you. I mean, people buy from people. They don't buy from just somebody, hey, you need XYZ. They're going to buy from who they trust. So, these people that the two gentlemen I'd spoken about, they knew the skills. They understood it. They verbalized it, but it wasn't happening from here to here. And so we tried. We brought these issues to light. Um, Again, not only your external customer, your internal customer, meaning your technicians. That that's a relationship too. And the one gentleman, he had manager experience, and I was like, great, I can have like my service advisor manager at some point. The guys hated the guy. I shouldn't say they hated him. They just disliked him. He wasn't building relationships with them. He wasn't helping them with their jobs and how he would invoice things out. And I kept talking to him about that. I said, listen, the guys, you're struggling with your external customer and your internal. Like, so we kept talking about trying, and finally I was just like, it's not going to work. Like, this isn't working. So you also, as a good leader, have to know when to pull the string. The sooner you do it, the better. I've learned that the hard way over the years. It's just like, you really need to decipher: is this a cancer, or is this someone that's not a cancer, but maybe not working to your expectation that you can work with, so you can replace them. You need to look at all of that and do it wisely. Because again, at the end of the day, I have a business to run. I have overhead. So as long as they're not doing anything that's not honest or hurting someone, I'm not going to just get rid of them. But if I need some, front counter is key. They have to be on. They gotta build that relationship with the customers, because they're the face and the voice and everything for us.
And I like the way you said that the internal customer, because, and you could probably share some stories about how, because the relationship wasn't good enough, the technician didn't share all they needed to share.
Absolutely.
With the service advisor, which maybe the service advisor was doing a perfect job, right? The customer service front end was doing a great job with the information they had, but they didn't have all the necessary information.
Correct.
So you probably can share a battle scar from something like that.
And Brad, we have a morning huddle, and that was one of the things I talked about to the guys. And these are things that you just repeat over and over. Again, this is something I learned in coaching. You can have the best people in the world, but you can't tell them once. It has to be like, I have people in my tribe, which is who my coach coaches, that they have service advisor training and technician training, that it might be 8 to 12 week different sessions. And they just do the same thing over and over again. They're repeating it throughout the year, because we deal with the same stuff. That you might pick up on something, you might do really well, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to pick up on this, and then this slides down. So you have to constantly remind people. I'm the same way. I ask my wife 20 times, what are we doing this weekend? She tells me 20 times. I'm always like, what are we doing? She's like, I'm already telling you, but it's the same, It's the same thing. So I have good people. It's just reminding them, the gentle reminders, and doing it kindly, and coming alongside them to help them.
So I'm really curious about repeating the same training. Like, the way my mind, all right, so if I'm listening to a book on, say, Audible, I have no qualms about listening to it 2 or 3 times, right? Because it's a topic that I'm actually trying to make sure it sinks in, or whatever the case might be. But I don't know. I think I would get bored with the same in-person training over and over again.
Yeah, it seems like it. And this isn't extensive. This could be like a 12-minute. This isn't like a long half hour, 45 minutes. This is a short, precise, hey, this is our procedure. Basically, training on your procedures. This is our procedure. This is how we do it. Let's go over. And it's good. And the other thing I've seen, as how many times have you read, I'm just going to use the Bible. You've read a verse. You've read this verse your entire life. Every time you read it, you get something different out of it. And it's the same principle. You see your team, and they've grown since the last time you've taught it. They've gotten a little bit further. Like, oh my God, finally, it's like, boom, the light bulb clicks. Wow, I just noticed and I can do this or that. And it's like, exactly. So that repetitive.
The frame of mind, with what you just said, the frame of mind is the most important piece. Yeah. Going into it, not thinking, okay, I've done this before, now I just got to sit through this again, versus, okay, what can I get out of it differently this time around? And how can I, help my teammates who are sitting next to me get something different out of it? And now that hunger is for improvement is the game. And so, man, that's how do you evaluate? Okay, maybe, and I don't know the situation. I didn't meet the two people that you were talking about that weren't a fit for your shop at the front desk. I'm not there. I haven't been there. I don't know all that went on, but you saw their experience, and this is one of the dangers of resume hires. You saw their experience, but how do you investigate their hunger for improvement? Like if you have a stodgy old, 50-year-old 70-year-old salesperson, I just added 20 years because I don't want to be the 50-year-old. Who's just kind of like, this is how I do it. This is how I can't, I'm not doing anything different, and going on and on, right? Like that, you don't want to hire that person. Great that they have 50 years experience, but if they're not ready to, if you don't have that hunger to improve. I just said the other day to my son, and he is so confused by this statement. Again, you've heard me say that he's 10. I said, I can't wait until I'm 60, because he was actually asking me about, like, what do you have to look forward to, Dad? You're almost dead. Right, and so
Nice, bud.
I'm like, yeah. I said to myself, yeah, I passed the halfway point. That's fine, but I'm excited about 60 because I'm going to look back and say, what a stupid kid I was in my early 50s. And he said, you weren't a kid. I'm like, but that's how I'll feel, because I'll have learned so much more. And so he processes things. I've always had bigger conversations with him that you just kind of, I guess I enjoy watching his wheels turn. But anyway, yeah, that's the attitude, right, that you need to have. And so how do you actually evaluate that person and then say, okay, this is the kind of person I want on my team? They might not know anything right now. They might have zero experience, but if they have enough of that hunger.
Well, that's in our newest hire. That's exactly what it was. So to give a little background on him, he's in his 30s, great young man. My wife had found his application resume, and I was like, let's pass over. Well, then we weren't finding somebody, so we went back to it. And I was like, you know what? Let's bring him in. So brought him in. Man, he interviewed so well. So his background is he has a degree in special education. So he was a teacher for a while. And the way I understand it, I'm not 100% this is correct, but I believe he created a project in school, and he designed a restaurant that was operated by kids with special needs. And he got connected with two other women, and they launched this business, and he was basically the manager of the business. So he's like, dude, I knew nothing about it. And he learned, he basically figured this out, and he ran a business. So he understood the numbers, how to buy. Like originally he was just buying everything from one place. Well, then he learned, well, I can buy this from this and this from this and save money and get better quality. And all while managing people with special needs, trying to operate a restaurant. And he just got burned out, basically. He's just working a ton of hours. He loved, you can still see it. He talks about it. He lights up. He really did love what he was doing. But he said, I was working like 80 hours a week. And he said, I just couldn't do it anymore. So here I saw this young man with passion. I was like, this guy's got drive, what he did. And so we talked through things and had him back for another interview and share with our vision, our goals. And I said, listen, I know you basically know, he knew nothing about cars. Zero. So I'm like reaching out to my coaching, all these guys, like, what, have you ever dealt with this? And kind of like I said, listen, you can't teach what he has. You can teach cars. So I got videos on everything I could think of, and I sent them to him, and he started watching them. And so he's been with us a little over 4 months. And this our meeting yesterday, he had an awesome week last week. His numbers were great. And I know they're still going to do this a little bit here and there, but he's getting focused on where he needs to be. He's understanding what he needs to do. When he comes in and we discuss something, you can see it. You can see his wheels turn in his head. And then he asks a great question. And I'm like, great. And we talk it through. And he's doing extremely well. And again, I know that position is going to take 6 months to really get him up to speed, and then at least a year to really feel confident. That's the reality of this position, coming into it with no experience. But he's doing great. And
is he the only one at the front?
No, I really have 3 here, 2 main, and then my son's there. My son's kind of like the backup. My son does quality control for us. He's doing inventory for us and some parts. The parts committee receives parts. So he helps out at the front, but he does some other responsibilities as well.
Okay. So he's like, it's like 2.5 up front.
Correct. And it
Okay.
works really, really well. And then Dominic's been a service advisor in the industry for like 20 years. So he's got great experience. He's doing great. He's my rock.
Okay. All right. So a couple things that I heard there. One is you've got to, when you're during the interview process, you've got to try to find ways to explore whether or not they are open to learning, whether they have a learning frame of mind, and also a passionate frame of mind about anything. If they can be passionate, can they be passionate for you? Right. I mean, like, do they have, or are they just lukewarm about everything? Because then they're just looking for a paycheck, punch in, punch out. And it's going to feel that way to the customers, and that's going to lose. And then the other thing that I'm hearing in your formula that's working for you right now is that you already have one rock star, and that's going to help him in his journey. That's not to say that if you don't have that, you're going to fail. It's to say that absolutely helps if you already have one that you kind of learn from.
This goes right back to what I said earlier. Hiring people that can help you. So yes, we have our weekly meetings, and usually we start with Dom. How are things going? Is there anything that I can talk to the other guys about that we can focus on? And he'll speak up. And then, okay, great. During this next week, make sure you're reiterating X, Y, Z. So he's coaching. We're talking. He's coaching them along with me. So I'm not there all day, every day. He is. So he hears how he's talking. He gets off the phone. He'll like, "What did you say?" And he's like, "You said this." Like he's harassing him in a good way, but getting him to remind, don't say this word, say this. And so he's building, what was the one word he said? Oh, don't say I think, or, you want to be confident. Do not use the word I think or maybe.
Right.
And so he's hearing that, and he's coaching that out of him. So again, the coaching, it goes down the line.
Now, is there a time when you say, that's a great question, I need to ask, and I need to ask somebody who has more knowledge than I, and I'm going to get back to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have, and I've also shared that with him. I know you don't know everything. So if you don't know everything, don't try and blow smoke.
No smoke.
Because
no smoke.
You're going to have a customer who knows more than you, and you're going to get burned. It is okay to say, you know what? I'm not sure. Let me get back to you on that. 100%. I've done it 1,000 times, and you'll never get burned that.
Right. If you've listened to all of the episodes of the Garage Group podcast, you've heard me tell this story before, and I just think it's a fun and hilarious story. Many years ago, I had hired a sales rep, and I was in the meeting with this new sales rep, and he just flat out lied to the prospect, and so I instead of embarrassing him at the moment, because I was kind of shocked. I didn't know what to do with it. I think going back, I wish I would have corrected it right then and there. Instead, I went back to them quietly afterwards and corrected it. But I also took him aside immediately afterwards, and I said, "Why did you say this?" And he said, "Fake it till you make it." And I'm like, no. If you don't know the answer, you say, "That's a great question. I need to have someone fill in and get back to you." But no, there's no smoke with my name on it. Absolutely not. Won't have it. Won't allow it. So I did fire him. And the interesting part of that story was it didn't take him much longer before he entered politics. And he
great.
And he was a state rep for many years before he finally retired. So that's just interesting.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
But no faking it till you make it. Know it or don't know it, and admit that you don't, and then go get the information. Right.
Yeah.
So that's fun. That's anyway. Okay, so with the hiring, how is he doing? The new person, how is he doing with his teammate relationships?
Awesome, great. They're getting along so well. My son.
Why?
What's that?
Why?
Personality wise. So,
okay.
100%. So I can assure you.
So the third thing that we're going to look at when we're hiring somebody is whether or not they're likable.
Yeah.
But you were about to pull something out and talk about it. Go ahead.
It was just something here. No, okay. The people that I've hired, they seem to have the right personality. So you know how you just don't know till you get them in the door sometimes. And this young man, when we interviewed him, it was much more clear. He's younger. He's energetic. I really appreciated his energy. Again, he said, I I am willing. I'm still young enough to learn something new and make a career out of it. And I was like, okay, that was music to my ears because that's what he needed to do. This is a complete career change. He needs to learn. He's great with people. He understands business a little bit and he likes to figure problems out. So I need to take it. This is a reminder I should write down. Him and I need to go out for lunch because I have an idea that I want to launch another aspect of the business next year. And I want to get his feet on it because he's just good with talking through that stuff. So I have my ideas and how I want to do it, but I want to get his input because again, getting your employees' input gets their buy-in, and it's much easier to do things when they're part of it. So,
Jarrod, I'm gonna send you a text message later to remind you about the lunch.
yeah, I'm gonna write it down.
You're gonna write it down too? All right. So take that moment. But I'm gonna send you a text message. And by the way, being a guest on the Garage Fit podcast, whether you're on a panel or whether you're on an Origin and Impact series, or maybe you are a vendor selling to repair shops and you're going to be on a vendor insight. Like, I want to create this type of networking type community where we have that accountability back and forth with each other and reminders. I want to have those relationships with you. And so, be a guest, be a part of it. But at the last shop owners panel that you were a part of, you mentioned that I think each one of you wrote down each other's cell phone numbers, and it has not been a lot of time.
No.
Not much time has gone by since you recorded, but I encourage you, if you haven't already, to reach out to those guys.
Because the one gentleman had an operation similar to what I'm looking to do. I
was thinking the same thing.
Street from each other,
right?
Repair shop, and he did oil changes and tires, and we do a fair amount of tires. But I want to be the tire shop in this area, and I know we can do it. But again, I want to. That's actually what I've been working on in my office is creating a business plan, talking to my tire vendors, figuring things out, creating different things for my advisors to communicate scripts. And so yes, I want to talk to him because he was very, very positive on it, and I want to get his experience.
Hey, he was saying that it feeds his repair shop, right? So,
and Brad, just kind of go right into what you said there. Building connections and building a web of people that you can talk to across industries, across lines. I appreciate that. Same with my coach. My coach we have a tribe. They're all the members that he coaches. Well, we have a tribe call once a week. So whoever can get on there, they really encourage it. So now, not only do I have my coach and the coaching company, I have 30 other shop members that I can reach out to, text throughout the week. Some are Euro specialists, some are Asian specialists, some are just general diesel. I may not work on this all. Hey, what have you done here? Have you ever seen this? Where do you get a part for this? I'm struggling for, again, my network now has grown from this to across the country. It's amazing.
Okay. That's great. That's really good. And so the coaching company is doing that, and we're not a coaching company, but I love that type of bond. So I'm happy to make those connections, especially if it's helping. So I'm glad to hear that. Can you circle back to me and let me know how that conversation goes with that other shop owner from Ohio? That'd be great. And you said you would be the tire shop in your area. How far are people going right now there are other tire shops in your area.
Unfortunately, a big box store did open up in our community a couple miles down the road.
Okay.
But it's just not the place I would want to take my car. I feel we can do a much better job of that. The other thing is what I'm finding there is a tire place about 8 miles from here that it's in Creamery. So just beyond Skip back there. They were known for the tire. They are still known. I have customers that come in here and my other shop and hops around. That's where they go. That's where they go. That's where they go. And
they're, I said Shanksville, you said Skip back. They're in between Schwanksville and Skip back. Right. And so, and that's, and it's interesting because they are well known. And again, I cheat because I'm from the general area and I knew of that. I was not in the business when I knew of that shop. Right. And that tire shop. So they do have a level of name recognition.
Right. That's all they do. That's all they do is tire.
Yep. And they do it a lot for repair shops.
Yeah. So problem is you might go there. It's like you have to go and wait. So I don't believe they make appointments. It's just you go and wait. So people go on a Saturday and they're waiting forever. So I feel we can we can fill a gap, fill a void that we can really do. Plus our customers, I have several that they come back with new tires. We recommend tires. They come back with new tires, and you talk, oh, I want so and so. I'm like, so I've told my front counter about 6 months ago. I say, guys, you've got to, if you see somebody, step up and ask. That's what we do. Hey, I noticed we'd recommend tires. And you have new tires. Where'd you go? Hey, just want we're very competitive on tire prices. We can get just about any tire you want, and the convenience. Your car's here. We can do it while it's here, while we're doing the inspection, while we're doing the oil change. You don't have to go second place. So talk about convenience, talk about pricing, things like that. And so, yeah, I think we can do a really, really good job of it. And then in addition, while we're doing tires, you're pulling them off. You can look at brakes, you can look at steering, suspension, and then that can feed the repair side as well. So
sure. Do you think you'll use the same family name, or do you think you'll actually open it up under a different name so that it doesn't look like there's a connection, or would you leverage the brand? And
I think leveraging your brand is huge, especially because it's right across the street and we have signage and we are now getting known. And I just think that it is important. So yeah, definitely.
That's probably the direction you would head out. Okay. All right. All right. Well, good. All right. So we talked about the woes and challenges of hiring. Do you have a similar mindset when you're hiring technicians as far as wanting to learn and desire to learn? I mean, it's hard to get that. That's not on the resume, right? That's part of the resume challenge. Is that's not on the resume.
And I'm good. I'll share my experience with hiring, and I feel very thankful, very blessed that we were able to hire the people we hired to replace the people that left here. I mean, that's a blessing in and of itself. So we're able to keep operation, keep production up. I am going to say, I don't know that I've actually been ever able to hire who I want to hire. The availability of candidates out there is so slim that a lot of times when we're looking to hire, you don't get there. My wife's on Indeed all the time. She is going through it and going through it and going through it. And there's some people that have been on there for years, and you'll get the same application. It's like, well, that guy's, it's just, the good technicians they have a job. So, you need to find them. And I know we've talked, Brad, I know you have a way to help with that. But I feel like in the past, you almost sometimes settle, and, everybody lies. It just, you interview people and they lie. They just do. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, pretty much every person you get in here, I do this, I do. I never get sick, so I don't take vacation. The guy gets in here as soon as he gets a vacation, he's sick and he's gone uses everything up, and then some. So.
And then he quits.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, we have good people. But
it's been a challenge.
It's been a challenge. And again, there's been probably one, maybe two people that I really didn't appreciate here. Other than that, I still, no matter who I have, even if they're not the right fit, it's not that I don't like them. I have a business to run, and I have productivity numbers that we need to hit.
I got you.
Listen, this is where we need to be. Can you do this? You said you could. This is what our conversation was. Here's where we are. I need you to pick up and do X, Y, Z, and then let it go and see how it goes. If they pick it up, great. If they don't, then maybe we need to part ways. And I always try. I had a guy that left recently. He left to go do a different job, get out of the trade. Took him out to lunch. Had an awesome conversation, and I just shared with him how much I appreciated him. He would be welcome back here anytime, because he was a great worker. We trained him from young, and he said a lot of great things about us, and some things that from working here, his life changed, and that's what it's about. That more than fixing cars, more than this, more than that. What we did here, and directly related to, he's a friend of my son, so because of my son introducing us and then working with us, he started attending church, and that's life changing. That is the most important thing that we can do in here is helping people change lives. We fix cars, but ultimately we help people. So
there was a guy named Chris who I found his interviewing process to be very, very interesting. He was on the panel about from interviews to integration on episode 17. And then he did a one-on-one conversation with us on episode 19. And one of the things that really jumped out at me about his process was he's just the first step. He's just the initial. I don't think he used the phrase gatekeeper, but he relied, the final interview was actually with everybody else. And so all the employees were weighing in on every hire. Really, really interesting, because you just got them talking about how they need to be able to play nicely with the technicians if they're at the front desk and vice versa, and they can't be withholding information. They need to actually be, hey, we're on a team, we're on this team, so let's get this done, right? Attitude, and that's the approach that he had. I found that really, really interesting. So anyway, check those episodes out for yourself, and well, not just you, but if you're listening in and you're trying to figure this out, but again, I'm not a coaching company, right? We're just sharing stories with each other as far as what we're doing. But speaking of coaching, does your current coaching company have training that has been approved a little bit helpful, or are there more training that you're about to do on how to hire people?
Oh my gosh, yes. My wife's there's one gentleman who, he's done training classes on Indeed, how to use Indeed, how to create the right ads, how to, it's expensive, but you got to pay. And it's been awesome.
I'm sorry, what's expensive? The right ads on Indeed or the coaching
No matter,
process?
no matter what you do, you're going to spend money. So like
Mhm.
my wife is very thrifty. She doesn't like to spend money. So,
Mhm.
so I'm like, honey, this is what we got to do. So having not just myself, but someone else who's having success using Indeed, okay, we got to spend, here's our spend for what we got to spend. Because the longer you're without a technician, it's going to cost you more money than paying to get somebody in the door. So
Sure.
she's understanding that. But no, that has been gold for us. We rewrote our ad completely.
Okay.
She actually personally called the guy. They or maybe not called, maybe texted, and he was great, or an email. Either way, just everybody
Right.
very helpful.
Communication. Yep.
And
Okay.
communication has been very, very helpful. So yes, they do have training on all that.
Okay. All right. And that was about the Indeed side, the initial, here's the front door. What about the interviewing side? I've heard of shop owners who actually make their, all their employees and all their potential employees take disc type profile analysis. I've heard a lot of different things as far as how to approach the analysis step of the interview.
Our interview process has changed over the years. My original coaching company, I got a lot of information from, and we used to do some type of a testing like that. It was disc, but it was created and designed towards a service advisor, skills of a service advisor, and skills of a technician. And we use that, and then we would take that, and then we would read it back to the person we interviewed, and usually they'd be pretty dead on. So it was good, and it would also say, hey, this is where they score. This is a really good trait of a good service advisor. Again, you take things with a grain of salt because it doesn't always mean it's going to be right, but it's a guide. It's a help. We haven't used that more recently. I have talked to some, again, in the coaching company, there's so many people in it. Some are like, yeah, I do this. Some are, I do that. It works here. It works there. Same with Indeed. Sometimes Indeed works good here. It doesn't work good over here. So you really have to take things, try it, and see if it works for you and in your area. And maybe you have to do a different approach. But yes, they have.
And I imagine that, you said works here, works there. I imagine that actually varies based on whether you're hiring a front desk or a technician as well, right?
Absolutely.
So, or anywhere in between, like the parts manager that you're going to be hiring to, I'm sorry, I joked about that because that was actually a discussion that one of the rabbit holes that we went on the last panel, in the November 2025 panel was whether or not to hire a parts manager to just handle that. So that now, are your front desk people? I believe they are. They're putting together quotes based on what your technicians are telling them.
Correct. Now I do.
And do they get distracted? Because that was the discussion, was that they get pulled away from that grinning ear to ear because they're in the middle of doing that quote.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
This is something that we've slowly started to change. So my Saracen store, my original store, that place is humming, and that one's some of the things I'd like to change. That place is not run that way at all, and it's working. So I'm like, it's not broke. I'm not changing. Like it works. It's working awesome. When I have to make a change, I will. But they're so efficient. They're just killing it. So over there, technicians in their shop, they run. My advisor, he creates all the estimates and does it. Over here, as I've hired people, I've hired technicians on flat rate, with a little different pay plans, due to the fact that I want to incentivize them to not be capped. Hey, you come in here and you can crank it out, I'll pay you. But with that, I want you to create your own estimates. And again, if it gets real crazy, don't get into it. Just don't get in the weeds with it. Just do your basic, services. If anything's hard, let the advisor know. But when that does, it takes a little bit of time from the advisor to spend more time with the customer, um, to sell and explain and share the features and the benefits of everything. I do compensate my techs for doing that. So, our normal, labor rates, let's just say a job calls for 1 hour, I'll pay the tech 1.2 because he's taking extra time to do that. So I want to compensate him for something he's doing, but it's also not requiring me to hire another advisor to do that. So, it is working. People are like, oh, well, you take your technicians or all your productivity, they should be able to bang it out. Da, 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 da. Well, if you get the right mix and you get the right people, it really can work. So I see that. So I have 2 technicians who are 2 out of 6 that are creating their own estimates and paid a little bit differently. Others have been here, so I haven't changed their pay plan. Some people I already know, it's just not, they're not going to do it. Some older people, it's like, that's just not part of their skill set. And I'm okay with that. You just have to work with what you have and have to realize that, that's part of it too, is like, just because this works here doesn't mean it's going to work there. And I have a good person here and they're doing well for me. So why would I make a change?
Well, and we just got off the topic of documenting your processes. Do you have 2 different quote unquote manuals for both, one for each shop? Like, because it doesn't, the single manual doesn't actually apply to both locations in this particular aspect because of personality types.
Yeah.
So how do you address that? How do you flex that?
So
Because I think you're right. I think you make a good point in that, hey, this is the correct way. And then you learn that this works a little bit differently or better because of your team. So talk to me a little bit about, like, why not have 2 different manuals, Souderton and Howardisville?
So what I guess I kind of do.
Okay.
One manual, and then if there's I'm just going to give you a coolant flush, for instance. So
Yeah.
no, I'll do a transmission. I'm sorry, power steering fluid service.
Okay.
Original location, we didn't have a power steering fluid machine, so we'd put an additive in it, we would run it. Then I'd pull the return line off, and I would put a hose into a pan, and we'd have an assistant help run it and do it that way. Here we had a machine. Basically, it's you remove fluid, you add fluid, you remove fluid, you just keep doing that till you cycle through it. So it's a process. So in my manual, it says shop A and shop B. This is the process.
Okay.
Shop A is the process for shop B. So it's all one manual, because I have had at times one person go from this shop to that shop. So they have the same manual. They don't have to change. They just see what's different.
Okay.
Since we got a machine over there because it works so well, and
Right.
So we've changed that and eliminated the other one. But, so that's how I've approached that, Brad.
Yep.
The same manual. I just have descriptive headers so that the technicians know.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, not just the technicians, right, though, but also the service advisors, right, and everyone in the organization. So, now you jotted down during our panel. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I don't have a process written down for the hiring process, but one of the things that you said was, I would like to get to a point where my wife isn't as tied to that role.
Yeah.
Give her a little bit of more. I don't know what the goal is there, but maybe you could shed some light on it. But have you thought any more about that?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it's been a short.
And in all fairness, everyone listening in, it's not like we waited 6 months. It's only been a week or 2 since we had that recording.
Yeah, we were away for a week.
In all fairness, and that's right. There was also a holiday in there, so that's fair. But do you need are you going to? How are you going to make sure that actually gets some time spent on it?
Is there a process? Yes, my wife has a process. So,
right, but it's not written down anywhere. So if for it to continue when she goes on a missions trip for 2 weeks with your daughter, like it needs to be written down somewhere.
Right. So yeah, so we need to work on that and get that handled. But yeah, that is the goal. She's more of an HR position here. She does a lot of the behind the scenes. My wife has a background degree in teaching. She was a learning support teacher, and she loves that. She would love to be back substituting that. So I would like at some point to, I don't know how long that'll be. I don't see that in the real distant future, but hopefully the next couple of years, it'd be nice if we could.
What about hiring a firm to handle it for you?
Sure. I just don't feel I'm ready to do that.
Okay.
So this new location is required so much. I don't feel like we're done tweaking, and I just love having her here for her input.
Mm.
So again, still tweaking things to get it where we want. And I feel like, yes,
Then you can
hire
plug in.
somebody outside. They don't know your business. They really don't. It's, I feel like they do what you ask them to do. And yes, there's some pointers, but I want to make sure that we do it the way we want. And then we can say, hey, this is what we're looking to do.
And you're still learning that process. And that's actually part of the documenting process in many ways. Like you'll actually, if you start documenting what you want and what you're looking for and how you're going about looking for it, right? As far as the HR side of things go. So we're not talking about necessarily jotting down that you have to, get them to sign this form for sexual harassment, right? Like that's not what you're talking about when you're talking about process, but maybe you are. But it's more about like how to go about it. And as you write that down over and over again, I would imagine that will help refine your own.
And we're still, yeah.
ability.
And we're constantly refining. It's, so with my coaching company, we have quarterly meetings, and you go to these meetings, and then you take a class, and you're like, oh my gosh, you come back, and you're just like, let's make some changes.
I didn't do anything since last time. What am I eating? I mean, you did, but it didn't. It probably doesn't feel like you did because there's so much new. There's so much new stuff.
So it's great. We're always learning, and I think that's part of being a good person too. Is a good leader is if you're not learning, you're stale. You're going backwards. You need to be continually pressing forward to be the best you can be. And man, is it hard.
Well,
man, is it hard.
Well, we talked about, so that gave me an idea specific for you. All right, this is, maybe it applies to others too. If you're in a learning culture, Jarrod, you and I have talked about how there might be benefit in you actually posting what your culture looks like on social media. Well, what if all of your posts were centered around ASE certifications and training and the willingness and the enthusiasm to just the hunger for more information, like just capture those moments with your new front desk guy and just try to, and maybe that's what you're publishing. And so what I'm saying is, your brand becomes, we're a learning shop, like a doctor's practice. I don't know. What do you think? You're not sold on it.
Well, I am sold on the fact of sharing my culture. I think you're right on there. I think that's how to do that. I'm not sure. And so one of my fears my wife has, and I think it's an absolute legitimate fear. I have to be careful how I share that, because I think of sharing a culture as I'm going around sharing videos of what's going on in my shop, my team. We got a great one this morning. My service advisor, my main guy, he went out and led it. And he's like, brought the other guy out, and it was just, they were goofball, and everybody's laughing. We should have videoed this. Well, that's great stuff. But my wife's concern is, as you're videoing your employees and putting them out there, who's poaching your guys? I had 3 guys poach for me earlier this year, and that hurt. That hurt. So as you're poaching or you're posting videos of your people, all with this AI, people can take that video and find out who this guy is, what his name is, and then they can go. So that's one of my.
I just, Dale from the last panel shared a story on, maybe he didn't share it on the panel. Maybe he shared it on a one-on-one interview like this, but he shared a story about how another shop owner walked into his shop while he was there, asked the guy, his employee next to him, to go outside. He poached him right in front of him. It didn't unsuccessfully, but so that story had a happy ending, I guess. But I guess I don't know. Part of me says, part of my response to your wife, I understand her concern. I get it. It's reasonable. And part of me says, if they're going to want to poach, they're going to find a way to poach. Like whether you put it out there or not.
We didn't put it out there already. They got them. So,
well, that's kind of, yeah. Meanwhile, you've shared the type of culture that you've had and maybe make it easier to attract others who also are itching to learn. That's why I kind of mentioned that, because we talked about how do we actually figure out whether or not this person wants to learn. Well, what if we put out there that all of us want to learn? If you're not learning, you're stale. You're not learning, and if that's not you, then you probably don't want to, and if you don't want to have your technicians with that kind of hunger for new information, then maybe you're not the right fit for our customer base either.
Yeah, I'll be transparent. I'm struggling with that right now. I'm struggling with getting my technicians to train. They just, I mean, I grew up going to 2 to 3 training sessions a month. Whether it was Napa would put it on, or our um, uh, another training class. I belong to Mid Atlantic Auto Care Association, which is in our area. They put on classes monthly. I'm part of a business development group, so I'm 2 to 3 classes a month. I've always done, and yes, does it stink to be away from your family? Yes, but you know what? I always loved it because I learned something new about my industry, what's going on, and um, I'm having a hard time getting my guys to go. I pay for
I've heard a lot.
it.
You pay for them. You pay for them to go, and they still don't want to. So I've heard a lot of shop owners talk about how they struggled, and then they just made it part of their hourly time and compensated for them for that time. So it wasn't an evening away from the family or a weekend away from the family. I mean, it was in the case of the Mid Atlantic where they had that Super Saturday, right? But that they actually kind of just allowed the downtime they're not processing cars if they're in the classroom. But that was well worth it to make sure that it happened. And I'm trying to remember the different people who've been on our podcast who actually have called that out as something that they had like a light bulb moment on, and they actually did it. And I'm struggling to put that connection, but there's been a couple like that. And I don't know if that have you tried that with any success? Where you said you pay them, but are you paying them overtime, or are you paying them during the regular hours?
So it's after hours. But
Okay.
I'm going to take up now. The other thing, there's a company out there that has, I think it's called Today's Class. I know Tom's talked about Tom Flamro. He has it, and it's a company that you sign on for, and they send your guys like a 3 to 5. I think it's about a 3-minute video every day. So again, I'm willing to do that, but I haven't seen any buy-in yet. So I always tell my people, listen, I'll pay for stuff, but I don't want to waste money.
Man, 3 minutes a day, that's easy.
Right. So
and actually you could triple it, and it's still easy. And here's what I'm saying by triple it: after you've watched it, you've got to discuss it.
Well, here's the thing.
And now you've done 10 minutes, right? And who cares? But I'm sorry, you were saying, here's the thing.
They tailor it to each individual tech. So as you watch these videos, there's 5 questions.
Yeah. Okay.
And wherever you're weak, they're going to send you those videos more of. So everybody gets something a little bit different. Now, they also have a library of more training they can do at their own time that's longer. But I've heard Tom has gotten good success from his guys. So it's something I'm considering. I need to discuss it more with my team.
So the thought that I'm thinking about is, I'm sorry, real quick. Let's do a call out for that. It was
Today's Class. I believe that's the name of the company. Today's Class.
All right, I'm going to look that up while I'm asking you this next question. But really, where I was going with it, and I've actually, so one of the things I do with my son, is I sometimes make him tell me what he learned at school, and he's like, Dad, why do I have to do this? And one of the reasons is I know that if he can communicate it, he actually learned it. And it actually solidifies, just like you were just motioning there for those who are listening to this podcast. Jarrod was on the same page as I, that, by being able to articulate it, you've actually solidified it. You're actually recalling it. And that's why I said about the 10 minutes versus the 3, like the idea that they have to watch it and then they have to share it with the team. They watch it and they share it with the team. And you only get a minute to sum up the 3-minute video. You only have 30 seconds to sum up and then that way you've got enough time for everybody in that 10-minute period. And what's 10 minutes?
Right.
Like they wasted more time on making their coffee today. Right. So, hopefully not, but maybe.
Yeah, well, honestly, the salesman's thing is like, listen, everybody goes into the bathroom for a couple minutes. They could be doing their 3 minutes in there while they're in the bathroom. And I'm like, that's not a bad, makes a good point. But the other thing too is I know there's a way to, incentivize them with gifts. I think as they do things and they get points or something, I could set up gifts on the site. So I could be like, let's say Napa has a sale on this, that, or the other thing. I buy a couple tools and I put them up there. It's like, okay, this one's worth X amount of points. This one's worth X amount of points. As it's again, it incentivizes them to make sure they're doing it, paying
It's
attention.
gamifying
It's
it.
gamifying.
Fascinating.
Correct.
And that's going to appeal. I got to tell you, that's not going to appeal to a boomer or even some Xers. Like I have very little interest in games, and so, but I remember a close friend of mine outside the industry, but in the boutique tech space, that was his whole thing. He's like, this is the future of training. We've got to gamify it. And I'm thinking, I didn't grow up on video games. A lot of my peers did, I guess, but like, you know, an Atari entered our house like 10 or 15 years after it was invented, maybe 20. And we played Space Invaders. And I think that was it. I think that was the only game that we had. I know that I've also played Pitfall, but I mean, like, so, but the amount of time spent on it was, less time. The entire time was less time than my son spent this week on Madden. Right. So, now in my defense as a parent, it was raining a lot this week. So, but anyway, the gaming culture, right. Or the gamifying of training, if you have a younger crew, absolutely, I think would be a win. I don't know how I feel about admitting that, but by the way, I did verify it's todaysclass.com. Today's plural class.com. You might want to check them out. That's interesting. And you know, the name doesn't necessarily sound it, but they are automotive specific. So
Constantly updating and adding new. Like I've talked to them several times. I think it's a great. Like I'm all in. I'm all interested, but I'm like, am I ready to fork the money over if I'm not going to get the buy-in? So it's a matter of me taking the time to communicate it to my team, and I have a training tomorrow, so I'm going to present that to them and see what they want to do if they're interested in going forward with something.
Is it everybody? Is it everybody, or is it just like per user, or how is it priced out?
Don't quote me on this because it's been a while. I felt it was a price for the shop, but I'm sorry. I don't,
regardless of number of users. So a smaller shop has to pay the same freight as a 25.
I believe so, but I think it's like a certain price up to so many users, and then after that it might be more. I don't recall. I don't want to speak 100% on that because I don't remember.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's worth checking out though. But I really, where I was about to ask was like, it sounds like your front desk would be game. Speaking of the gamification training, and I wonder if it's worth it just for them, and then when their enthusiasm for it spills over, like would more people adopt and adapt? Like I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just I don't know any of your people, so we
have a good culture.
You seem unsure.
No, we have a decent culture here. That's what I like. It's just a matter of getting people to do a little bit more. You know, I was always training, and I wanted to be the best. And I struggle when I see employees that they're okay with just bare minimum.
Right. It's interesting. You said just a little bit more. When I don't exercise enough, but when I do, right, I don't just do, you know, the 50 reps. I do 51. Like I do just a little bit more than I was expecting to do it, right? Or and lately I've been doing it actually in like more of a hits type style. And so 30 seconds intensity, you know, 10-second break, 30 second. And I would take 9-second breaks because I'm trying to just one more rep or one more, right? And so that's what you're looking for. Again, like how do you actually find that star in the interview process? Like you're not going to find that on a resume. If and when you get your fat butt off the couch, when you exercise, do you actually do one additional rep?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting interview question. Anyway, okay. All right. Well, this has been fun. I hope you've had a good time on the conversation. I don't know. I imagine we'll have you back again. You're basically a veteran at this point.
Personally, I just every time I get off the phone, I always end with, "Man, that was a great conversation. I enjoyed my time with you. You're a great guy, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's a good thing."
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, what we're doing is we're trying to help as many
Yeah.
shops as possible by having these conversations here on this Garage Grid podcast, and that is the reason that we've have this podcast is because that matches our culture at AA Shop Marketing, right? We're trying to help as many shops as possible. And so, if you're trying to figure out what your next step is here in the new year of 2026, you can go to addy.me/jumpstart and fill out a quick form. And I don't think one size fits all. I don't think, it's as easy as say, oh, well, you need a new website. Oh, well, you need to do this or need to do that. So we take the time to look at your competitors. We take the time to look at your specific online footprint, and then actually we'll give you what your next step is for your digital marketing processes from that form. And so we customize that approach, kind of our way to help as many shops as possible with that, and as well as with this podcast. So make sure that you are subscribed, because we're going to have even more conversations than we did in 2025 in 2026. And so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you're a part of the Facebook group on the Garage Grid Podcast Facebook group, so we can continue these types of conversations. And Jarrod, I don't want to put you out there, but you strike me as the kind of person that if any shop over across the country had a particular question that he had or she had as a result of listening to this episode, you'd be willing, if it was published in the Facebook group, you'd be willing to receive that question and get an answer. And if you're not on Facebook on that particular day, I'll make sure someone from my team lets you know that question's floating out there for you. And so,
Good help. That's what.
All right.
People have helped me, and I try and do the same. It's what it's about.
Let's grow stronger together here in 2026, right? So thank you so much, Jarrod.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.